This is a story of the Golden Mirage. Once, the village of Dawa was a quiet, unassuming place nestled between rolling green hills and dense forests. The people lived simple lives, tending to their crops and cattle, trading in the town square, and telling stories by firelight. Among them was a young man named Suraj, who was ambitious and restless. He dreamed of wealth and adventure, longing for a life beyond the village's mundane existence. One evening, an old traveler arrived in Dawa. He spoke of a hidden treasure deep within the forest, a cave filled with gold and jewels, left behind by an ancient king. The villagers listened with mild interest, but Suraj's heart pounded with excitement. This was his chance to escape poverty and become someone of importance. Ignoring the warnings of the elders, Suraj set off early the next morning, carrying only a lantern, a knife, and a sack to fill with treasure. The forest was thick and mysterious, sunlight barely piercing through the canopy. He pressed on, guided by the traveler's description. After hours of wandering, he stumbled upon a strange sight, a tree with golden leaves that shimmered under the faint light. Awed, Suraj reached out and plucked a leaf. It was as light as air, and as he turned it over, it crumbled into dust. He frowned. A trick of nature, he muttered, moving past the tree. Soon, he found a narrow passage between two towering rocks, just as the traveler had described. Inside, the air was cool and damp, the walls glistening with something that resembled gold. At the end of the tunnel, he found the fabled treasure, heaps of golden coins, sparkling gemstones, an ornate crown stacked high. Suraj's breath caught in his throat. He had found it. Wealth beyond his wildest dreams. Greedy hands reached for the treasure, filling his sack until it was almost too heavy to carry. He draped a golden chain around his neck and placed rings on his fingers. With a triumphant smile, he turned to leave, his mind already picturing the life of luxury awaiting him. As he stepped out of the cave, a low growl stopped him in his tracks. From the shadows emerged a great black panther, its golden eyes locked onto him. Suraj's heart pounded. He turned to flee, but the moment his foot hit the ground outside the cave, the weight in his sack shifted, and he stumbled. A loud tearing sound filled the air. To his horror, the golden coins and jewels in his sack disintegrated into fine dust, slipping through his fingers like sand. The rings on his fingers melted into nothing, the chain around his neck faded like mist. Everything, every glittering piece, was an illusion. Panic surged through him. He had risked his life for nothing. Worse still, the panther crept closer, its muscles tense, ready to strike. Suraj did the only thing he could, he ran. He sprinted through the forest, heart hammering, the sound of the beast behind him fueling his terror. The chase seemed endless. Branches whipped at his face, roots threatened to trip him, but he pushed forward, fueled by pure desperation. The panther, sleek and relentless, followed silently, its golden eyes never leaving him. Just as his legs began to falter, Suraj spotted the faint glow of dawn on the horizon. His lungs burned, but he pressed on, crossing the river that marked the village boundary. As his feet splashed onto familiar ground, the growling behind him ceased. He turned back, breath ragged, but the panther was gone. Only silence and the rustling leaves remained. He reached the village at dawn, collapsing in exhaustion at the town square. When he finally caught his breath, he told the villagers what had happened: the false gold, the panther, the narrow escape. Some villagers shook their heads knowingly, others laughed at his misfortune. The old traveler, however, simply smiled. "Gold that appears too easily is never true gold," he said. "You sought wealth without effort, and you found a mirage. True riches come from hard work, not from chasing shadows." Suraj lowered his head in shame. He had been so blinded by greed that he had ignored the wisdom of his people. From that day forward, he worked alongside the villagers, learning the value of honest labor. He tended the fields, helped build homes, and traded fairly in the market. Though he never found the fortune he had once sought, he earned something far greater, the respect of his people and the satisfaction of a life well lived. Years passed, and Suraj grew older, wiser. He married, built a family, and became a respected member of Dawa. Though he never ventured back into the forest, the story of his journey was told for generations, a reminder that all that glitters may not be valuable, but the bonds of community and the rewards of honest work were treasures beyond compare. And so, the village of Dawa continued in its quiet, unassuming way, holding on to the tale of the young man who once chased gold and found wisdom instead. Wealth and success gained through shortcuts or illusions are often deceptive, while true value lies in hard work, wisdom, and the bonds of community. Suraj learned that chasing easy riches led him to danger and disappointment, while genuine fulfillment came from honest labor and personal growth.